Welcome aboard. The PlayStation 5 Pro was announced. And oh my God, what a mess. I'm telling you, this thing, after it was announced, it has gotten bombarded with negativity. And there's a lot of reasons behind this. I mean, because we're at a mid-cycle release, a refresh, if you will. And pretty much like the PlayStation 4 Pro, the PlayStation 5 Pro has a lot of technical enhancements versus the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 5. For the PlayStation 4 Pro, you pretty much 4K, accelerated graphics, faster load times, all of that stuff. And it looked insanely different. Not insanely, it looked really different from the PlayStation 4, whereas PlayStation 4 looked pretty flat. The PlayStation 4 Pro looked like three sandwiches stacked together. But as you look at the Pro right here, it pretty much looks like a standard PlayStation 5. Probably a PlayStation 5 Slim if I had to take a wild guess. The only real difference is if you look at the sides, it looks like it has three fins for like air cooling, but I doubt that that's what that's for. But there's a lot of technical specs that are going on with this game. And, you know, one of the things is a GPU upgrade, advanced ray tracing, and PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. This is blast processing. This is all it is. This is just like a fancy word for blast processing. So on September 26th, they will take pre-orders on this at directplaystation.com and at participating retailers. I don't know how this is going to go, but as far as like the technical specs, I figure the best thing that we can do is kind of take a look at the video that announced this, which at the time was announced as a technical presentation, and then it came out that it was the PS5 announced. So we're going to play this. It's a 9-minute and 39-second video, and we're just going to kind of analyze it, and then we will go from there. So let's enjoy.
Hi, I'm Mark Cerny. I'm excited to be here to talk about the newest addition to our console lineup, PlayStation 5 Pro, and how it advances gaming technology. But first, I want to take just a minute to look at what we put in the original PlayStation 5 and how it delivers an exceptional gaming experience.
So for right there, I cannot tell. I'm assuming that's the PlayStation 5 Slim next to that. So right off the bat, it is basically a PlayStation Slim.
When PS5 debuted in 2020, it brought a lot to the table. 8 Zen 2 CPU cores form the brains of PlayStation 5 and enable high-speed complex gameplay, with character counts reaching into the hundreds and frame rates that can be as high as 120 frames a second. PS5 has a powerful RDNA 2 GPU, which can render anything from intricate details to fantastic worlds with vast panoramas to explore. Ray tracing allows for dramatic visual improvements, including reflections off of water or glass, and the realism that comes from real-time global illumination.
Which, for somebody like me, I don't care. I've never understood ray tracing. I mean, they say it, and I never understand it. Oh, well, I got better reflections on the water. I really don't care about reflections in the water. As long as the game's fun, that's all I care about.
A custom SSD can load data at breathtaking speed, resulting in ultra-fast transitions between game worlds and data streaming rates so high that traversal speeds are essentially unlimited.
If I'm not mistaken, I think somebody had a project out there to where they tried to make Ratchet and Clank on the PS4 to see if that would work. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that.
I'm working on it. Tempest 3D audio tech brings an unparalleled sense of immersion to the sound of the games. With audio so real, you may not even need to see the enemies to know exactly where they are. Finally, the DualSense controller has haptics that let you feel through your hands what your character is experiencing inside of the game. It's wonderful to see such variety and richness of game experiences. Creators have made amazing use of the hardware capabilities, but when I talk to them, I do hear about their desire for more graphics performance. The dreams of the developers are bigger than can be supported at 60 frames per second, and that leads to an aspect of modern gaming that we're all familiar with.
Essentially, they want PC. They want this to move as fast as a PC does.
Graphics modes. It can be a difficult choice for players. Fidelity modes emphasize the visuals, typically through higher resolution rendering. These modes might also have enhanced detail or use more ray tracing. But the games only run at 30 frames per second. The visuals can be choppier and the controls less responsive. Performance modes emphasize frame rate and interactivity, typically choosing to run at 60 frames per second, mainly by reducing the graphical detail until those frame rates can be achieved.
Yeah, one side has monsters and one doesn't.
When asked to decide on a mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time. Removing that decision, or at least narrowing that divide, is one of the key targets for PlayStation 5 Pro. We want to give players the graphics that the game creators aspire to, at the high frame rates that players typically prefer. To do that, PS5 Pro substantially improves over PlayStation 5 in 3 ways. Here's what we call the Big 3.
And none of that all that means nothing to me. And for a lot of your normies too, it means nothing.
First, we made the GPU much larger and increased the speed of the memory it uses. The result is rendering that's up to 45% faster.
But to your normal person, does it play 2K? Does it play NBA 2K?
Second, we made major upgrades to the ray tracing, taking a streamlined and accelerated approach that allows calculation of the rays at double or even triple the speeds of PlayStation 5. And finally, we added custom hardware for machine learning and an AI library called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR for short. PSSR analyzes the game images pixel by pixel and can add an extraordinary amount of detail, which boosts the effective resolution of the games. Game creators are adding PS5 Pro support to new and existing titles, and with the Big 3 involved, the results can be pretty amazing, with graphics showing something like fidelity levels of detail, but at double the frame rate. Here's The Last of Us Part 2 running on PS5 Pro. It has huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second. Let's compare this to the fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier. This goal of delivering almost fidelity-like graphics at performance frame rates has been achieved for a broad set of titles, including Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We can see that PS5 Pro is close to doubling the power of PlayStation 5. Another way to compare the two consoles is to look at PS5 Pro versus Performance mode on PS5, both of which target 60 frames per second. What we see here is a difference in detail. PS5 Pro is much sharper and crisper than PS5. For this, my favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet & Clank. Distant details are much clearer. And here we can see Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is noticeably higher resolution throughout the scene, including the trees and procedural cars.
But not by much. I mean, yeah, if you want to compare it to the other mode, yeah, I mean there was a noticeable difference, but performance mode, and you know, most of these people that buy these games, your normies, they don't know the difference. They just want to play the game.
So overall, some remarkable improvement to the games. On PS5 Pro, we can see increased sharpness to the graphics or smoother and more responsive gameplay. This is the Big 3 showing their value. As you've been seeing, machine learning via the PSSR library is being used quite broadly to add pixel detail and boost frame rate. But there are as many approaches as there are game engines. The increase in raw GPU power is being especially effective for Horizon Forbidden West. Apart from the detail boost, that extra graphics power is allowing for improvements to lighting and visual effects, as well as to the hair and the skin in cinematics.
Open up, guys. Jorv's orders.
Good enough for me.
Ray tracing is finding broad usage as well, particularly when the games are focused on higher frame rates. The faster hardware in PS5 Pro can make a real difference, allowing Gran Turismo 7 to add ray-traced reflections between the cars in gameplay, while continuing to support their targeted 60 frames per second. That boost in ray tracing is also delivering big wins for Hogwarts Legacy, allowing not only for better reflections and a greater variety of reflective surfaces, but also for further realism in the casting of shadows. I hope you've enjoyed this run-through of the technology behind PlayStation 5 Pro. Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built, and a worthy addition to the PS5 family. Let me wrap this up by giving you a quick look at a number of games running on the new console.
All right, so that's enough of that. At surface level, when you look at it, it really, you cannot tell the difference. Putting them side by side, yes, absolutely. But really, it boils down to the normal people that buy PlayStations. They're not going to see a difference on this because if it does the same thing that a PlayStation 5 does, which is play the games, that's what most people are going to go for. And the thing that's really going to set them off, let's see if it's on this page. We're going to scroll down just a little bit. Right here, this price point, $700. That is a pretty big pill to swallow, especially in this time when money's kind of tight. And the fact that it is digital only. You can use the optional disk drive that they made for the PlayStation Slim. You can use that on here. So that's $80. So that's going to essentially drive it up to almost an $800 system because you have to buy everything separately. Oh, and here's the best part too. $700, right? $700. Scroll back up. Don't know if you can see it, but if you can see where my mouse is, vertical stand sold separately. So for $700, they could not at least include a stand. They couldn't even include the little like nubs that come with the Slim. They couldn't include that with it. And of course, it comes with a controller. Now it does have a 2 terabyte SSD as opposed to a 1 terabyte, but M.2s are pretty, depending on where you can go, you can get a 2 terabyte M.2 and you can plug it into a PlayStation 5 and you can make that a 3 terabyte, but technically the PlayStations don't come with 1 gig of memory. They only come with 820 gigs. But still, it would be still cheaper. You get that hot deal on Amazon, you can get a 2 up to a 4 terabyte M.2. You can probably get one for under $150. But speaking of that hard drive, so of course, disk drives are selling out after that Pro Technical presentation. They're what the scalpers are doing, and this is all scalpers. Of course, Sony's going to assume, wow, that's going to be a demand from people for buying PS5. No, it's absolutely scalpers. And to kind of give you, and let me refresh this right now. Look at those prices already. $140, $115, $105. So we're looking at an $80 add-on that's going over $100. Purely scalped, because the scalpers are going to assume that the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to sell out. Now, the fanboys, maybe the technical people, it'll sell probably right out, but as far as like on a broader range, when it comes to the general market, not everybody's going to buy it. The PlayStation 4 Pro, to kind of give you an idea, and I hate to have to go to Reddit, but this is the only thing I could find right here. The PlayStation 4, as of July 19th, 2020, sold 14.3 million units. All right, so compare this to the overall PlayStation 4 overall sales, 105.3 million. 14.3 of those were PlayStation 4 Pros. That's a tiny fraction of the overall sales of that. And this is including the original PlayStation 4. This is including the PlayStation 4 Slim. So it's a small amount. When I worked at GameStop in my most recent go through, everybody wanted PlayStation 4s. Nobody asked for a Pro. The only time we sold a Pro at that time, PlayStations were hard to get on both sides. PlayStation 5s, PlayStation 4s. They would only buy a PlayStation 4 Pro if that was absolutely the only thing we had to sell them. And this was pre-owned. It was before Sony started like remanufacturing PlayStation 4s again, selling them on their website, and then the occasional Walmart you'll see them at. But they would only buy the PlayStation 4 Pros if they absolutely had no choice. Even if they were to have us order them through the website, if there was nothing available there, then they would buy the PlayStation 4 Pro. But coming up into the holiday season, you're going to have your families, you're going to have your moms, your dads, your grandparents that are going to come out, and their kids not knowing any better, because kids are only going to ask for a new PlayStation 5 Pro just because it's new. They're not going to understand what it does. All that technical mumbo jumbo, they won't understand. But they're going to bug their parents to get one, and parents are going to won't have any idea about it until they see that price tag on it. $700, that's absolutely ridiculous when they'll look at the PlayStation 5 and see that it is substantially cheaper, and then they will go for that instead. Because what difference does it make to the parent? It's a PlayStation 5, because they're not going to understand why the Pro is any different from a standard PlayStation 5. They're not going to understand the technical aspects of it. And Sony is just making a big mistake going this kind of a high route on cost on this. $700, people just don't have that willy-nilly. Now, of course, but what about PC? People will spend that much on PC. They do. A lot of times they'll build their PCs and it will cost that much or even more. But even at that price point, you can get some mid-range PCs that'll run better than that PlayStation 5 Pro. But when it comes to your overall market, your market that you are generally are sold to, it's your casual gaming market. It's your people that don't have an understanding of PC games. Like myself, I have absolutely little understanding of PC. I'm getting better about it, but still, my knowledge is pretty much novice compared to anybody else that's been doing it for years. I don't have to worry about buying upgrade parts, new processors, new CPUs, new GPUs. I don't have to worry about any of that. Consoles, to me, are pretty much safe. You know, out of the box, you know what you're going to be getting for at least 10 years. Something that is reliable. You can play any game that's available on the Surface, and it looks pretty good until they announce the new one, and then there's your improvements from there. But this Christmas, the way I see it, they're going the route as the PlayStation VR 2. PlayStation VR 2, in most cases, was more than the PlayStation 5. It didn't sell well because people didn't want to come off of that cost. And what ended up happening? Sony got to where they stopped really supporting the PlayStation VR 2. And it didn't sell that well. They put it on sale most recently, knocked $200 off the price. I bought one. And I only bought one because it was $200 off. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I will soon. VR is really kind of a novelty at this point, but that's the only way they were able to push it. And it sold out. It sold out because it went on sale. And where's it back now again? Regular price. It'll go back on sale again for Black Friday, but as of right now, it's pretty much going to stay just lying around until that time. So that's what I see for the PlayStation 5 Pro. It's going to end up like the PlayStation VR 2. It's going to have low sales. It's not going to be a big selling item. But we'll just have to wait and see. It'll come out this fall. November 7th, 2024 is the release date. So we'll just have to see and kind of follow how it's going to sell throughout that month and maybe after the holidays and see if it absolutely made a dent. So what did you all think about that? Do you agree? You disagree? Drop a like and a comment down below. And until next time, take it easy and we'll see you then. Bye for now.